It may not be an exaggeration to say that almost all the organizations have their own cup of woes. In addition to the regular business problems, one of the important contributory problem that may create some internal problems in the organizations may be the complaints which the employers and employees of the organization may have against each other, and also the complaints against the employees each other. In business parlance, if these complaints are given in writing, these complaints are called as grievances. Why? What are the reasons for the existence of these complaints or grievances in the organizations? Normally, every individual or every employee will have certain expectations or aspirations about his career in the organization, that is where he is working. If the organization did not meet these expectations or aspirations of the employee, then this will create some dissatisfaction in him, leading to frustration, which in turn may manifest as a grievance. These grievances may be real or imaginary, these grievances may be valid or invalid, and these grievances may be genuine or false. These grievances, they are not only confined only to the employees, even the employer sometimes may have some grievances against the employees. Here a number of issues are there to be known and understood about these grievances. That is, what are the sources which breeds these grievances, what are the effects these grievances will have on the functioning of the organization, how to handle or how to redress these grievances, so on and so forth. In this given scenario, the topic which we selected for today's discussion is managing grievances, important issues. Managing grievances, important issues is the topic which we selected for today's discussion. This topic is covered in Unit 18 titled Employee Grievance Handling in the Human Resource Management course of our MBA students. So, this session is, of course, in general it is useful for the all MBA students of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, but this session is particularly useful for the second year MBA students and also for the final years who opted Human Resource Management specialization in their final year. To discuss all the important aspects relating to the management of grievances, we have two experts with us today in our studios. On my immediate left, Professor K.Koteshwara is here. Professor K.Koteshwara is Dean Faculty of Commerce. Next to Professor Koteshwara, Mr. R.C.Sasatry is here. Mr. Sastry, he was Executive Vice President of VST Industries and also former Director for HRD at Sachem Computers. Mr. Sastry is now Chairman for Stoney Cotter Consultants. So, to begin with, Professor Rao, will you please explain us the reasons for this industrial unrest, why this unrest is taking place in the industries?
Yeah, definitely. You have rightly introduced the subject for discussion. This grievance is not confined to the industry. It starts from the individual to organizations of different types, different nature, and it is part of the human life. So, it varies from organization to organization depending upon the various conditions, the peer groups and other things. When you look at the sources part of these grievances, there are many. If you take the first one, that is what we call it is economic reasons, say improper fixation of wages, mode of payment, overtime, all these things, bonus payment, they come under this category. When you look at the other one, that is work environment, see if the work environment is not congenial, then the workers would develop a sort of grievance. Working conditions are not suitable, hours of time, shift system, many other reasons are responsible for developing grievances on the part of the employees. Work groups, as you know, that in any organization the employees work together as a group. So normally, unless they have cordial relationships between them, is a definite, it's a failure on the part of group performance. That's why they should have a cordial relationship. Sometimes it may lack, that may also lead to a sort of grievance on the part of the employees. On the other side, the employees would also have a type of grievance against the employees. Why? Because when they appoint some people as their employees, they expect something from the employees. If those expectations go wrong, then normally the employees themselves would also develop a sort of grievance against the employees. These are the various sources of grievances.
So maybe because of the economic reasons, or because of the work environment, or the groups in which the employees are working,
naturally.
or the organization, work organization.
Yeah.
And in addition to the employees will also have some problems.
Yes.
So Mr. Sastry, you have very rich experience in HR field. So would you like to throw some more light on this particular aspect?
Yeah, well, agreeing to what Dr. has said, I would like to quote what the CEO of a very successful multinational company has said. He said, "The world is for the discontented." I think man by nature is seldom satisfied. He always lives in dissatisfaction in pursuit of something, both material as well as the non-material. If that were not there, I don't think we would have built organizations and would have people working for organizations. That's issue one. The second one is when people come together, different people have different capabilities, and organizations may reward, may punish, may deal with in different ways. The individual employee or a collection or a group of employees have a reason to believe that one set of those who got the benefit of it may feel that yes, it has been done very fairly and squarely, and those who did not get it have a reason to believe that they were victimized or they were denied, which leads to the genesis of an individual grievance or a set of people coming together and developing a common grievance, a group grievance.
Will it be possible for the organization to satisfy all the employees and that to all the times?
Yeah. So no organization possibly will be able to satisfy all the people all the time. I don't think anybody would like to play God. Yeah. At the same time, the important thing is that what is the maximization of satisfaction in terms of at least the approach that is taken, in terms of the consistency with which the rules, the regulations, the objectives are fulfilled. I think many a time justice is what is seemingly done rather than anything else. If the employee feels that there is justice, well, there is justice. Now, how do we do it? I think that is where the entire art of management is.
Maybe perceptional problems and attitudinal problems.
Yeah, as in marketing we say perception is reality.
Yeah.
So if an employee feels that he is aggrieved for a reason, well, the only way to reach out is by convincing him.
Yeah, naturally.
Professor Rao, now I think I am coming to the basic question now. Will you please define this term grievance precisely?
Yes. In normal usage, what we do is we use the words dissatisfaction, complaint and grievance in the same manner synonymously. But there is a subtle difference between these three. If you take the first one, that is dissatisfaction, it's a state of feeling or a feeling of discontent on the part of the employee, then that is called as dissatisfaction. Say, during the time of work allotment, he is undermined or he is attached with little importance. Then, see, those things would be in his mind and his feelings would be different. So, some sort of dissatisfaction might be developed on his part. And if you move to the second one, that is complaint. If this dissatisfaction is orally made known to some other, then it is called as complaint. For example, the same discontentment, if suppose he is sharing with either his colleague or his family members or his immediate supervisor then that is a complaint. Complaint. That is, he is sharing his feelings. That means he is opening his mind before some other person. When you come to the third one, a complaint becomes a grievance, normally which is related to work and which is brought to the notice of management, then that is called as grievance. So the same feeling, that is, he is undermined while the work is allotted, if it is brought to the notice of his supervisor, then that is called as grievance. So this is the difference between these things. And one more thing is,
you mean to say that this grievance should be in writing?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. He may express orally, or if it is needed, sometimes he may give it in writing for bringing it to the notice of the management.
That depends again on the policy of the organization.
Yeah, the procedures that are in vogue in the organizations. And you see, the employees are expecting certain things from the organization for which they are working. What we call them as aspirations or expectations. If the organizations fail to do or fail to satisfy, then the grievances arise on the part of the employees. That means a grievance is caused between the expectations and the management practices.
Whenever there is a difference between these two.
If there is a gap,
is
then that we can be concluded as grievance.
Mr. Sastry, even if the employees have some grievances, normally they will not come forward to express their complaints or grievances frequently. Can you please explain us why?
Not necessarily. I think we have both the occasions.
Yeah.
People walk in and convey their complaints, not necessarily again only in writing, through their behavior, the type of words, the type of actions or omission of actions, the way they have to comply with in terms of how they have to operate a machine or how they have to exactly do a transaction. In all these things, quite possibly they show something is worrying them. And the worry, if it is not looked into, will manifest itself into a grievance. Also, there is a sensitivity that is attached to the issue of a grievance. It is, I think, on the side of both the employee and his boss, that if they are sensitive to each other, they know whether some act of omission or commission has taken place, in which case there is a good hope that in the right moment it can be dealt with, and where the really problem has arisen. So essentially it is an action which may be an omission or commission, and not necessarily with any bad intent. It is just that there is a slip up and it can be corrected, but it calls for that sensitivity by which quickly the two come together and resolve it, and exactly where it is happening. To the degree that it is immediately happening, I think the grievance can be settled very fast. Also, this calls for the sensitivity in terms of looking at even the face of the employee, which conveys a lot of meaning.
Yeah, you can know.
Yes. Yeah. So I think it is a non-verbal behavior, the way the people show their faces up. Yes. Even back homes, we can quickly see the type of grievances that we accumulate at home. I don't think the work life is any different to that that we experience in the organization.
Will you please give us some examples of the grievances, typical examples of the grievances?
Well, from the smallest, in terms of in the industrial canteens, we invariably have run into the problem in terms of the quality of the snacks that are supplied, to the quantity and the timeliness with which these are delivered, to the complexity in terms of a new machine that is brought in with heavy capital expenditure, and reduced crewing, which led to a large amount of workload increase, saying that, look, earlier we were 4 people crewing and now it is only 2, and therefore the increase in workload, and you are not given correspondingly recognition by promotion or upgradation or some incentivization through salary or allowance. There are several ways that this gets manifest. Now, this is the alacrity that I am talking about, and the range is very big, from canteen snack to anything around a big investment through a machine or introduction of a new service facility, whatever. In all these things, an employee is involved, and he has every reason to feel the way he feels it, because he feels deprived or he feels that he is overloaded. Any one of those connotations.
So, Professor Rao, actually how one can know that grievances are there in the organization? Are there any different methods through which you can identify?
Yeah, there are certain methods to make a sense of these grievances on the part of the employees. If you take one method, that is direct observation. So under this method, what the managers do is, if they find any change in the behavioral attitudes of the employees, then they have to feel that they have certain grievances. That means the employees have
That
certain
is, as
grievances.
Mr. Sastry said,
Yes.
by looking at the face of
The employees. And moreover, as a manager, he could make the ordinary behavior of the employees, because all the time he used to observe the employees. So that's how managers can make the difference. That is one way of making the grievances. I mean,
through direct observation.
Yes, yes. And another one is what we call exit interviews. Exit interviews in the sense, normally when the employees leave the organizations, they come out with real feelings about the organization, because all the time they work for the organization, and some of the problems or some of the relations may be coming in the way to express real feelings about the organization.
Almost taking feedback.
Yeah. So that is one way of making the grievances. And open door policy in the sense, normally the managers used to make statements. Whenever you find problem, please walk into the room and express your feelings. These are the common statements when the people at the helm of affairs address the employees. So by taking all these things, they can make out what type of problems they face, what type of grievances on the part of the employees, how the employees
So
are
one
feeling.
more point. In that case, if the identification of the employee is not known, then how to solve the grievance of that particular? If it is a collective, it's okay.
Yeah. So that means at least the root cause of the problem can be known to the organization. Maybe it is related to a particular individual or particular group or a particular department, but they make a cause and try to find out a solution for such problem.
Okay.
Not necessarily the
Only that individuals,
we need not keep the individuals in our mind for settling the
at
problems.
least the reason for that
Yes.
grievance
Yes.
can be found out.
Yeah, other channels are also there. Is a through group meetings. Say we can have first-hand information from the employees, periodical interviews. Like that, we can make out the grievances, and we can find out the root causes for such grievances. And it is better if they settle them at the root level, base level, instead of allowing them to grow.
So, Sastry Garu, now Professor Rao mentioned that the grievances can be found out either by direct observation or exit interviews or open door policy, complaint boxes or other channels. So, do you adopt all these methods while for finding out grievances, or do you have any other specific mechanism?
Yeah, broadly they fall into the same pattern all the time without any repetition. What I would like to point out.
Yes.
And one of the important ways of looking at what is happening in the organization and immediate to the potential in terms of grievance existing to potential grievances is by managing by walking around. The more we walk around our workplaces, the more we observe the employees, the more we look at the group processes that are taking place in the organizations, there is a greater certainty about knowing the feel of the organization, about each employee to collectivity of employees in groups and small groups to big groups. That's one. Another important dimension of any grievance is listening. I think not many organizations are known as good listening organizations. In fact, we listen only when people form into a big group and shout. Somewhere we give a wrong signal that the logic of an individual coming and presenting his case is not given the same weight as when he comes with 20 people and then the indulgent slogan and shouting. Either we like it or we make people to say so, but unfortunately I think there is a cultural derivative somewhere and this needs to be tackled. I think there is an important dimension. Both these have a cultural angle about it. These are broadly what I would like to. Though Professor has referred to gripe boxes, my own experience with anonymous grievances and suggestions, the very fact anonymous always has led to a lot of animus and it led to personal anger and vilification. It is better, even though it is more difficult, that we create open organizations where one can walk in and one can frankly discuss. The more frankly the bosses and the powers that be, all of us deal with, a greater the type of responsiveness that I saw with employees coming in. In the ultimate, let us accept one thing, that anybody who comes into the organization, he comes in with the same purpose. The hierarchy is just an enabler, but is not a decider to say that grievances originate at a lower level and only the higher levels are away from grievances or anything. My own work life has indicated that there are as many grievances with the senior people as with the junior people, and all these require the same type of attention that I said, in terms of walk around, talk to, look to the people, listen to them, interact with them, try to find out and create a climate for preventive redressal of grievances.
So the gap between the boss and the subordinate, it will be reduced. If,
let me add some more to the discussion.
Yeah.
See, in the context of Indian organizations, always the boss is away from the employees. So, though our expert is saying that it is better if we keep the open door policy, and which gives more benefits or more results than the complaint boxes or gripe boxes. But the reality is how open we are to the employees.
Yeah,
We say so many things, but in practice, normally we don't accept it. But of course, change is coming in the Indian organizations also. If we look at the software industry, instead of people coming to the boss himself is going to the employee. That difference is there.
Yeah, I would only like to make a small comment here. Yeah, it is difficult, but then what is easy in this world? You really want to do good things and they become difficult things. My own experience in one of the, because you referred to the software industry with which I have been in intimate touch and responsible positions in the last 4.5 to 5 years. I told in one company, when the top management above me, I myself was a very senior official, when I got the compliment that things were going exceedingly well during my period and all that, I said, look, the only achievement that I have is that I have become a sort of wailing wall for anybody to come and cry on my shoulder. And I strongly believe that my success, primarily in HR in all these about 40 years, is because I was willing to listen to the people in distress, not necessarily only in distress, but also in their moments of joy. Connect with the people and you find that you have come closer to them.
So now let us move on to the other aspect, that is how these grievances affect the functioning of the organization. I request Professor Rao to react to it.
Yes, naturally, when the employees have grievances on their part, there's a lot of difference in their functioning as such, and certainly it would affect the functioning of the organizations also. Say, they lose interest in their work, they do not pay much attention to the work. Obviously, it results in wastage of so many things, material, time and other things, which increases the cost of production on one side. And if it continues, or if we allow to continue, then normally what happened is they go on leave.
Maybe mass leave.
And see, that would affect the discipline part of the organization, unrest, and ultimately it results in labor turnover, because ultimately they resort to leave the organization.
They will even prepare to resign.
Yes, yes. So these are all the consequences of the grievances if we do not pay proper attention to it.
So these are all the ways and means through which the employee will express his grievance. Though how the employer will express if he has any grievance or a complaint against him.
Yeah, naturally. See, I already told you in the beginning itself, grievances are not confined only to the employees, but they are also there on the part of the employers. When they have the grievances, normally what they do is they do not resort these type of practices, because ultimate losers are the employers.
their production will be affected
Yes,
and everything.
yes. So then what they have to do is they call the employees, they try to educate them, they try to counsel them, and they try to explain the need for discipline, the proper maintenance of work, attention of the work and all. That's how they have to make them work. That's how they have to fulfill their own grievances.
So now I request Mr. Sastry Garu to add his own comments on this.
Yeah, one or two experiences that I can bring
Yeah.
out here. For instance, in one of the companies that I worked with, we imported and brought in a very expensive machinery and without communication to the employees or their representatives. And what happened is the huge investment remained idle in the warehouse because the employees never allowed the machine to get in. So this is one issue in terms of we never sensitized in terms of what is the import of our capital equipment entry into the factory and what type of apprehensions are remaining in the people's minds. So that is the big one in terms of what is the import of a decision that we made and taking it for granted rather than live with the employees. At another levels also in terms of these grievances and the type of sensitization constantly that I had been mentioning, it is not necessarily only at the time of exit that people give you information. Can we periodically go to the employees and find out which are the areas where they are feeling dissatisfied? Because sometimes people out of shyness or because I like him, my boss and I would not like to offend him, I would not like to communicate, but some other way I would like to communicate. And we have gone through these organization climate surveys, trying to reach out, and which invariably projected various grievances that are there in the minds of the people, both at individual level and at collective level, functionally, department wise. We got enormous data.
Mostly unexpressed.
Which they are expressed, but we were not able to appreciate the expressions.
Very good.
Only when you put it out to 3 years survey and you put the whole thing into the cold numbers initially, but started deriving conclusions from the cold numbers into conclusions, suddenly it opened a new eye for us, a fourth eye. Oh, the people are not happy on this count, on this count, on this count, and we started acting on. And this is another way that we were able to deal with the grievances in terms of reducing the level of dissatisfaction and increasing the level of satisfaction.
So whenever a grievance is there, it should be handled and resolved immediately. Otherwise, it may lead to further problems in the organization. So thank you, Professor Rao and Mr. Sastry Garu, for participating in this discussion and for enlightening our not only our students but also the audience regarding the importance of grievances, how to handle them.
మా ఈ కార్యక్రమాలపై మీ అభిప్రాయాల్ని, సూచనల్ని, సలహాల్ని ఆహ్వానిస్తున్నాం. మా చిరునామా ద డైరెక్టర్, ఆడియో విజువల్ ప్రొడక్షన్ అండ్ రీసెర్చ్ సెంటర్, డాక్టర్ బిఆర్ అంబేద్కర్ ఓపెన్ యూనివర్సిటీ, రోడ్ నంబర్ 46, జూబ్లీ హిల్స్, హైదరాబాద్ 500033.
Interpersonal processes is the topic selected for today's session. This topic has been selected from Social Processes and Behavioral Issues course relating to our final year MBA students, and hence this session is more relevant for final year MBA students of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University who opted Human Resource Management as their specialization. You all know that every organization will have certain objectives, and a single individual cannot achieve all the objectives of the organization, and hence normally he means here the promoter of the organization. The promoter will take the help of few other persons. All these persons will work together for the achievement of the common objectives of the organization. To achieve these objectives more effectively and more successfully, what is required is teamwork. To have better teamwork or to improve the team spirit, again what is required is proper relationships among all the employees of the organization. In this context only, today we selected this particular topic for today's session, that is interpersonal processes. Mr. Hargopal and Mr. Ramaraju will explain you various aspects relating to interpersonal processes. So, first of all, let me introduce the resource persons. On my immediate left, Mr. Hargopal is here. Next to him is Mr. T.V. Ramaraju. So, Mr. Hargopal, what is meant by this communication?
Communication has got a vital role, madam, because now we have seen mostly up to 1990, once again I will say before the advent of the new economic policy, we had seen only the downward communication, that is communication given by the management to the workers. So, at that point of time there was no thought at all that there is a role for upward communication also, and almost they have ignored that there is a need for upward communication or also lateral communication. That is only management give a circular and workers need to, or employees need to follow it. So, that was only order of the day in those times. Now when the communication revolution has come, now everybody has realized their own importance, and now workers after spending 20 or 25 years of service, they want to have a say in every aspect of their working life. For example, now what is to be produced today, that need to be informed to the worker today, so that we can get more active cooperation from the worker. For example, now latest example I will tell you, after the financial year is over on 31st March, it is a convention that our general manager will go and meet all the employees and congratulate them on reaching the targets. On first morning, due to some official exigency, our minister has come, so he could not meet. So, all the employees now they give me feedback, what is this sir, GM has not come, so he does not want to recognize our talent, so we are highly disturbed. Then I told GM, he laughed at. So, yesterday morning I took my GM, we went around the shop floor and we met everybody. So, there was terrific relief from the employees, yes, our GM has come and met us. So, this is the strength of communication. We are not spending any money, but we are spending our time. So, that has got a tremendous impact in the organization's functioning.
That actually gives lot of satisfaction to the employees.
Lot of satisfaction. Yeah. So, they look for a message from the GM that how we are coming here, how we functioned last year. Then everybody knows that how much we produced, how much we sold, everybody knows about it, but they feel that it should be told by GM. So, now that is why now we are.
The impact will be totally different.
Yeah. So, in the process, if you see the psychology of the person, that they would like to feel recognized. So, this kind of need was not there in the employees. Okay. So, I would like to be recognized. For example, somebody does some good job. So, he always feels that he should be recognized by way of showing certificate, by way of showing some praise by GM. Recently, our chairman came from Bangalore. He patted one of the design engineer, you have done a very good job. So, he told that fact to almost all the persons, see today chairman has congratulated me. And in fact, his family members told me, sir, it seems our husband is congratulated by chairman. I am very happy that you have provided some forum wherein he was to be congratulated. So, it has got a terrific impact. So, upward communication or even lateral communication, now it is very fast catching up, and now it has got its own role in the organizations. So, that is why now more and more executives are spending maximum time in communicating only. And Vizag Steel Plant, what I came to know, one of the case study, we could see business world, the main instrument which chairman used, Mr. B.D. Panda, to revive the Vizag Steel Plant is, he talked with at least 10 employees every day. So, in a course of 2 months time, he talked with every person, all the employees of the Vizag Steel Plant. So, now that is we can see the result. It is one of the most performing steel plant in the India, and it is now catching up international standards. Or some 4 years back, it was about to be closed. Everybody was thinking it is getting referred to BFR and it is about to be closed. So, communication is a very strong instrument as far as now today's organizations are concerned, and we need to strengthen it step by step.
Still further.
Yeah.
So, communication means not only exchange of views or ideas, which is normally a traditional view about communication. So according to your presentation, what I could draw is that is communication means even recognizing the performance of the employees, even recognizing the work they have done. All
Yes.
those things will come under the category of communication.
Yeah.
Of course, even yesterday, just yesterday, I gone to Tata Idea Center office. I just saw a board there displaying all the photographs of the employees who achieved the maximum target on that particular day. Just congratulations, these people with their photographs, they achieved the maximum target of the day. I really surprised, totally thrilled by seeing all those things. That actually gives a lot of satisfaction to the employee, and also it gives a publicity to the outsiders, to the customers also. Okay, Mr. Ramaraj, will you please explain the process of communication very briefly?
Very briefly, I will explain, ma'am.
Okay.
The communication process starts with the sender. The sender may be a manager or a subordinate or anybody in the organization. Sender has to send some message to the receiver. So this message he will convert it into more understandable manner, which is known as encoding. That means the message can be put in a summary format, or it can be converted into graphs or pictures or in any manner. Then that is what is known as encoding. While encoding the message, the sender should ensure that the receiver receives it and decodes it in the way the sender wanted. And then this encoded message is put in medium or a channel. Now this channel in the organizations, it can be a notice board, it can be a meeting, or it can be manuals, printed manuals or instruction sheets, etc. Now while selecting the medium also, managers should be very careful. For example, two situations I will put up here as examples. The information pertaining to a holiday should be displayed on a notice board, whereas the information pertaining to the hike in salaries should be conveyed over a meeting. Now in this way, the credibility of the medium also he has to take into consideration, and then the receiver will access to this medium and he receives the messages and he decodes it and understands. Decoding means understanding it, drawing in inferences and making interpretations, and then he gives a feedback to the sender. He gives a feedback to the sender whether the sender whether he has understood the message or not. Meanwhile, a very dynamic element is here in between, which is known as noise. Now this element creates some distraction to the overall flow of communication. The difference between noise and other elements, if we see, the other elements are flowing towards clockwise direction, but it is only the noise that can flow in any direction. That means it can distract the flow of communication at any part of this flow. So managers should ensure that the noise's role is reduced and the overall communication flow is effectively made in the organizations. So there is a need for the managers to understand this process in detail and ensure effectiveness of communication in the organizations.
But my question here is, Ramaraj Garu, I think the sender of the message will follow the entire process. That is, he will encode, he will select the media, he will send the message and everything. But the most neglected part in communication is feedback.
Yes, ma'am.
Getting feedback from the receiver.
Yes.
So will you please explain more about the importance of feedback?
Yes, definitely. Without the element of feedback, we cannot call the flow of information as communication. We should call it by some other name. So important is the element of feedback. It is in fact the pillar for the overall communication process. Hence the manager should ensure that the feedback is effectively received from the subordinates. Now if you look at the downward flow of communication, then the top managers take decisions and those decisions are implemented by lower level managers. The information flows downwards, instructions are given, decisions are explained. The managers who have flown the information downwards should ensure that whether the lower level managers have received that or not, whether they have understood their role in the decision making process or implementation process, they should ensure. In this way, the feedback is very important. Now if you look at the information flowing upwards, sales executives, if I take as an example, they will be moving in the market, they know the pulse of the market. As of course sales executives or salesmen are known as eyes and ears of the company. So they have to give a feedback to the top managers, basing upon which very good wise decisions are taken in the organizations.
Basing on the reports only, the management will take decision which product should be introduced or what are the modifications to be made in the product.
Yes, madam. Now if you look at the characteristics of effective feedback, it should be descriptive but not evaluative. Now means descriptive means you should give an idea for the feedback receiver to modify his behavior, to understand what has happened. You should not judge anybody. Please do not judge anybody. Suppose over a meeting, one of your peers have got up, he has risen and he has made a presentation. Now if he wanted the feedback, he give a feedback wherein the receiver can understand where he has committed the mistakes and where he can change certain behavior. Suppose if you simply say whether the presentation was good or bad, that is not a very effective feedback. And also the timing of the feedback is very important. Suppose immediately after a meeting, if the management wanted feedback about the decisions they have taken, if you coolly tell them that you will give a feedback after 1 year, there is no point. So, the timing of the feedback is also very important. And the last characteristic now I would like to quote is the feedback should be positive. Through this medium, I suggest everybody to give only a positive feedback.
Rather, shall I put it this way? It should be constructive.
Yeah, it should be
Rather positive,
constructive.
it
It should be constructive. I will quote even an example. Suppose if in a speech, if the speaker's language is not appropriate, then the feedback should be like this: your speech would be more effective had you spoke in a very polished language.
Yes.
Now, in this way, it should be in a more positive way, and also, as you have rightly quoted, it should be in a more constructive way. These are some of the characteristics of feedback.
Mr. Hargopal, for taking feedback also, is there any particular process, and in organizations normally how you are taking feedback?
Yeah, as Mr. Ramadas told, feedback is the most important process in the communication, because everybody knows the importance of the communication, there is no doubt about it. But few people, few selected people, they will try to see that communication fails. Then we have already analyzed the reasons why X, Y, Z does like that. There may be one of the reason is it does not want the communication to be spread in the style what management wants, because either it may be against his interests, or he wants to project himself as a savior of that communication. Because normally downward communication, we try to issue circulars, we need to issue guidelines, we need to issue certain disciplinary measures. So, when particular communication is not in his favor, naturally he will try to disown it, then he will try to spread the information that such communication is very bad. So, that feedback now what Mr. Ramadas told is it must be positive, yeah, there is no doubt about it, but sometimes they will spend a negative feedback to see that communication does not spread at all. So, we have to analyze the reasons why that communication, why that feedback is coming negative. So, I told you already there may be one or two reasons, so we have to analyze them, then we have to see how the communication may be made more effective. And we can call that selective persons, we can tell them that why the communication is being spread like this. So, normally we use the grapevine for this informal communication network,
yes,
to see whether before launching a major step, for example, now we want to start electronic punching system. So, before starting 1 month before itself, we will just spread the information through grapevine. So, management is going to introduce electronic punching system, then we will get various information from informal channel, grapevine channels, no, this is good, this is bad, so no, management need to do like this, need to do like that. So, all these things now we will try to incorporate in the communication system. So, finally, when the circular is released, everybody's concern is taken care of. So, then we will be achieving the success in the communication itself. So, that is how then we made some 2-3 policy decisions where we involved everybody. So, that is why I tell you feedback, in order to be successful, involvement is most essential.
Yes.
So, unless we involve persons in the communication process, they will not be with us, even with our own family also. We want to buy one TV set today, I need to involve my wife, I need to involve my son, and we need to go to the shop and we need to discuss among themselves which TV we want. So, then only they will be happy and they will try to appreciate my selection. But if I buy my own and bring it, definitely they will try to point out something. You would have purchased Samsung, you would have purchased
there is a better brand.
better price. So, in order to differ, there may be 100 reasons, but in order to agree, there may be only one,
yes,
that is involvement. So, that is involvement is very, very essential, that we have seen personally. Even any decision among feedback among the peers, feedback among the superior subordinate, feedback among the employees themselves. So, there is a lot of role for the feedback, and now that is we are trying to strengthen that feedback system. So, we use normally pressure groups in the organizations, unions, associations. In fact, I told you example just now that GM were not going.
Yes.
This feedback we got from our union people.
Okay.
Because there is no process, there is no instrument for us to know what every employee comes to know, because there is no possibility for me to check with all 1000 employees. But when we union leaders, they go to the shop floor, all the 15, they get feedback from the employees that no, GM has to come and meet us. So, immediately we got the feedback and we implemented it. So, that communication went on most successfully, effectively. So,
the feedback also should be taken in a positive way.
Positive way.
If your GM feel that no, why should I go and meet them, there is no point. Okay, thank you, Mr. Hargopal. So, Mr. Hargopal, will you please explain what is meant by interpersonal styles? That is the next aspect in our interpersonal processes.
Yeah. So, 4 types of interpersonal styles we can see. This ABCD, what we observed is this is y-axis goes towards the I, and x-axis goes towards the U. So, this is okay and not okay, this is okay and not okay. So, if you take the first
That is actually the attitude of
attitude
an
of
individual about others,
individual about others.
and also about himself.
Yeah.
About himself and others.
So, when he thinks himself as a I am okay, but you are not okay, then he is going towards the avoiding attitude. That is, he will try to avoid the people because he basically thinks that all the people are waste, and all other people, he is only excellent person, and he does not want other persons to appreciate other persons thinking at all. So, in which case he may not be able to appreciate other person's view, point of view, then he may not be effective interpersonal style at all, he may not be able to execute the interpersonal style. So, that is called, now we call avoid. So, when coming to second this category, that is a bossing, then we will always he feels himself that he is okay and other persons are not okay. Then in which case he is always tries to adopt a bossism attitude, that is, he will dictate the terms and he does not hear any subordinates views at all. In which case he may not be able to take his colleagues with them, and automatically then he will not be able to success in a long run, because in the organizations normally hierarchy will rule for some time, because now today's if you see, we can add power to the position. Before 95 we have seen we can draw power from our position. If I am a DGM, I am already enjoying some power, so my subordinates or my colleagues must honor my designation. But today we have context, we have seen we must draw power from our position, that is, we must demonstrate that I am a DGM. So, they should try to see how he functions like a DGM, and he will be able to helpful HR man. So, bossism will no more help us. Then third is the most important character, that is the most helpful attitude, that is confident, that is I feel myself okay, I feel others also okay. So, that is the most positive attitude, that is I feel that everybody talking to me or everybody interacting with me is also a good person, and there is a reason in it. So, when I appreciate a reason in the other person's thinking, definitely I will try to place myself in their shoe, and that empathy attitude will be developed, and I will try to provide better solutions. Because when I am thinking that the other person is in a problem, definitely I can contribute myself best. And last category, that is not but the least, is a D, that is a different, that is I think that I am not okay, others are okay. There is a very also dangerous attitude, there is a normally we call escaping attitude. So, we see that kind of managers also. If you go to a manager, he will say no, nothing will happen, this organization will not succeed. I happened to talk to one of the director, he told me, Hargopal, this organization will never succeed. I told him, sir, please do not tell like that, even if it does not succeed, do not tell like that, because you are one of the director. So, that is he says that helplessness syndrome, that we call in our HR language, helplessness syndrome. So, that syndrome we have seen, that is a very dangerous attitude in the organizations, that is I am not okay, you are okay. So, they also should not play any helplessness syndrome, that we should be highly positive. So, as far as possible you should try to exhibit the confident style, so which will help the positive attitude in the company also.
So, I am okay, you are okay, I am not okay, you are not okay.
Yeah.
I am okay, but you are not okay, I am not okay, but you are okay. These are the various attitudes which may take place in the individual, and the interpersonal relations will depend mostly on the attitude of an individual. What is the attitude he possesses, and the most positive one is I am okay and you are okay. Attitude should be developed among the individuals. So, Mr. Ramdas, another most important tool which will be used by the manager while analyzing the interpersonal relations is transaction analysis.
This is transaction analysis is one of the useful frameworks made in understanding the interpersonal communication process and interpersonal relations. Transaction analysis understands an individuals in 3 ego states. There is a parent ego, adult ego and child ego state. Parent ego state is a state in which a particular person behaves like a domineering parent. He passes on instructions, he feels others to be incapable of dealing with situations. And if I wanted to associate it with the leadership styles, it is autocratic type of leadership he maintains there. But it is not very much suggestible, because for a period of time people operating under this parent ego style, they become incapable of solving the problems on their own. Then we have adult ego. Adult ego means the person is more matured, he takes decisions after a clear analysis and all. And then the last one is child ego state. The persons under this ego state are immature, they are submissive, and they are rebellious, they do not behave like matured individuals. These three ego states people exhibit while in interpersonal communication. The transactions between ego states are also very important. Like if you look at the complementary transactions, suppose if A is talking to B and the A's adult ego is addressing the B's adult ego, and B's adult ego again responds to it, this is a complementary transaction.
Will you please explain, will you please show a visual so that the viewers can understand it better way?
This is a complementary transaction.
Okay.
B and S are boss and subordinate.
Subordinate.
Now boss is addressing the subordinate, and subordinate also reacts to it in a more effective way in the same way. Then
Like
we
an
have
adult only.
yes.
Okay.
We will look at the second situation. Boss is behaving like a parent, addressing his subordinate. Suppose boss says, every day you are coming late, next time if I see you from tomorrow onwards coming late, I may sack you from the job. Then subordinate, instead of giving a matured answer, if he says, sorry boss, from tomorrow onwards I will come on time, that means he is behaving like a child. Now this is parent reacting to a child, and once again child reacting to a parent. Then if these are known as complementary transactions. If you look at the second type of transactions, that is crossed transactions. That means here if you see Raju and Srinu are employees. Now Raju is asking Srinu whether he has prepared a particular report, but Srinu says, do you think I have no other work? Srinu is reacting
Like
to
a child.
adult ego like a child. Then if you look at the other interaction, Raju and Srinu, Raju says, you have to submit the report on time, but you didn't submit the report, I will complain to our boss. But you see Srinu how in a matured way he is reacting. Srinu says, I didn't realize the importance of time, henceforth I will try to see that my other priorities are reordered and these reports are submitted on time. Now in this way these are crossed transactions. And if you look at the last type of transactions between ego states, they are ulterior transactions. These are not very much suggestible. That means when boss or a person approaches some other person, there will be an open message, at the same time it will also carry a hidden message. This is not at all suggestible. While communicating, that means in interpersonal relations, the message what he means should be very clearly, with a lot of clarity, should be communicated. Hence these ulterior transactions are not suggestible. If we can discuss more about transaction analysis later on in
So the
our
best one is complementary transactions.
complementary transactions are the most effective transactions in the organization.
So Mr. Hargopal, how you are taking the help of this transaction analysis for maintaining better relations in the organizations?
As Ms. Ramadar told, there are three types of interpersonal transaction analysis. There is, as Ms. Thomas Harris has already explained, there is a parent, adult and child. We sometimes even laugh among ourselves when we are seeing the display of childish attitude by even senior managers. So for example, now a chairman calls a senior manager and chides him, then he comes back and shouts at his subordinate. So this is a way of childish attitude, that is showing anger against his subordinates, that is passing over the buck to the others. So definitely invariably all the persons at some point of the time or the other, they will behave like a sulking child. So in those times what we could observe is the manager who is to control, or the senior manager who is to control, general manager who is to control, they need to express as a parent attitude. If they also behave like a child, then the relationship will get further strained, because our ultimate aim in an organization is to how to construct a relationship building. So relationship building will come only when they understand each other.
Yes.
So first of all we should understand that he is in a child state. So when he is in a child state, definitely we should appreciate. Rather than that, what we observe is normally is ego comes in the way. I am a general manager, that fellow is only worker, he tries to talk to me nonsense. So why should I tolerate? So I have a weapon, I can give charge sheet, I can suspend that fellow. But by that way we are able to get more and more problems into it, because he goes to the union comes into the way, and they are supposed to protect them, and sometimes small problems lead to bigger problems. You must be surprising to see that in ECIL, when we increase the coupon price by 5 paise, 95 paise to 1 rupee, and our subsidy cost is 10 rupees for every lunch. Company was locked out for 3 days. So there I don't think an employee can afford to pay 5 rupees more, 5 paise more. But there is a child parent relationship. When the that union leader came and told nothing, I will not agree for 5 paise increase. So that will also know that 5 paise increase is nothing. But here also general manager also exhibited the child attitude. No, I don't agree, you must agree. This is my order. So such kind of relationships normally they will be very dangerous for the company's progress. Here the company lost 3 days production. 3 days production is 3 into 3, 9 crores. So what for we lost the production?
Just for the sake of 5 paise, actually the loss is more.
Like that there are innumerable number of examples. So what we could see is how to build a constructive relationship, how to avoid this confrontation between child and parent ego.
Okay.
Madam, what I suggest is the management should realize the importance of the transactions and their analysis, and they should impart training to the employees that they communicate to others in a more adult manner. I think the training plays a major role.
So by extending effective training, particularly the sensitivity training or T group training, what we call,
Yes.
so they can change the attitude, the behavioral pattern of the employees of the organization, so that better relations will take place among the employees of the organization,
Yes,
and ultimately which will lead to the attainment of the achievement of the objectives of the organization more
in an effective
successfully
way.
in an effective way. So thank you very much, Mr. Hargopal and Mr. Ramaraju, for being with us today and for explaining the concept interpersonal processes in a very detailed way, and thank you very much once again.